Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Fearless Generations with Terry Sayer and Kelly Fox.
Hello and welcome to Fearless Generations, 12 Steps to Freedom. This is Kelly Fox, and tonight we are continuing the conversation of Step 2, which is willingness. And tonight we're going to talk about how all willingness brings adventure to our lives. And as we are willing, our life can get more exciting and things can happen. So Terry might be a little late to the call tonight, or she may not make it at all. We shall see. She has been driving all day home from her mother's and has just arrived. So we hold space for her, and if she comes, then yay. If not, hopefully she'll get some rest soon. So let me bring on our guest coach tonight. I'm super excited to introduce her to you all. Please welcome Sherry Danzig.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much, Kelly. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So this is your first time on the show, and I'm super excited to have you. So please introduce yourself to our audience. What is it that you get to do, and who is it that you get to serve?
I love the way you're saying it because it is a get to, and I could not agree more. So I am a self-care mentor, and my company is called Choosing Vibrancy. I have been in the wellness field for, I would say, wellness empowerment field for well over 30 years, and I work with physical ways to take care of your well-being. I've been a massage therapist for over 30 years and a birth doula for almost that long as well. I have worked with natural energy technologies, and I am privileged to get to be a mentor for women who are looking for ways to recreate their lives, to start becoming I like to say the star of their own life. And the way
I love that.
So so I've been. It's truly a work of expressing my passion and my belief, and hence the name Choosing Vibrancy. I think we all want to, if we have a choice, we want to live vibrantly.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I talk about claiming the spotlight, being a rock star, being the leading lady. So I love that. I love that you use that terminology. So we are so lucky Terry has joined us. So Terry, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I'm just like maybe 4 blocks from the house, so I'll be able to talk better without the car running. So I'll just listen, and as soon as I get home, I will be able to chat with you without the noise of the car.
All right. Well, I don't really hear any noise, but I am glad that you are almost home and that you're awake. So.
Well, I better be.
Yeah, because you're driving in a car with my kids. Well, we are talking about willingness this month, as I was saying. So, Sherry, what does willingness mean to you?
Well, willingness to me. Oops, I'm sorry. Did you say Terry or Sherry?
I said Sherry.
Go for it.
Well, I think willingness is about staying open, and I have a mantra about endless possibilities, and I think when we have a willingness to approach our lives, to stay open to what is next, to what is possible that we live. That's how we can experience adventure. That's how we can experience new things. And I think when we are willing to take risks and to step into something that is not familiar, maybe something we don't even know how to do it, but we have a willingness to give it a shot. I won't say the word try because I don't believe in the word try. I believe in going for it and making a commitment to do our best, to show up. And along with that, I think what comes with a willingness is, I think it's, well, everything I've been doing and exploring for my own journey has been about understanding that the fear that often holds us back is a fear of failure. We get hung up on that word. You know, failure is not something revered in our society. We like to celebrate winners, and failures are, you know, something less. And so that's a big part of what I want to teach my clients is that failing is actually desirable. In fact, I have a talk called Falling in Love with the Art of Failure, because that's when, and you know, the second, I guess the line that comes after that is that you fail your way to the top, because that's where we grow, that's where we learn, that's where we show up with willingness to have an adventure, to step out and do something new. And, you know, as long as we can understand what failure is, that it's simply learning and, you know, and being courageous, then it's not a big deal. I mean, failing just means, okay, new information. You know, I just got new information. And so I think when we can embrace it for what it is, it takes the stigma away. And I think that's a huge piece of it. So, I mean, I think we get, you know, we're all hardwired from, you know, we have memories of a time when we felt really bad about a failure. I mean, I think we all can retrieve stories from our past of when we felt like we were a failure. And I think if it was as children, maybe we didn't have people that were in our lives that understood that. So for them, they were struggling with failure as well. It's never too late to learn these things, though, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I love how you said you don't like the word try. We practice not using that word as well, and we replace it with practice. I'm practicing this. And I had a mentor that would say, do you try to take a shower? No, you either do it or you don't. So that's kind of how I think about it. But yeah, we can always practice something, and we don't need to be perfect. We can have a beginner's mindset, and we can practice, and that's what supports me for sure when doing something new or something challenging. And I think that as we practice, or as we go all out, or however you want to express that, it's really how willing are we to see it differently. You know, we can see something as a failure, or we can see it as a learning experience. So where is our willingness to see everything as something we can learn from, or something to be curious about, or something that we need, right? I think.
Yeah, I love what you're saying too about. Sorry, I wanted to just jump in here, because I think that the whole idea of being perfect, that perfectionism, is also kind of it's one of the key players of what gets us stuck, or we won't take chances because if we can't do it perfectly, again, it's the fear of failure. And I really think that, not to say that there aren't things that you want to perfect, you want to work towards. I love to cook, and I get a vision of what I want a meal to look like. I want the food to be plated in a beautiful way. I have a vision, and there's room for it to not all be so uniform. I think when things are too perfect, or we are so focused on perfection, that we don't allow things to happen in a different way. We find out different ways that something could be. We get so stuck in a certain way that we don't allow for something else. And I think that if we are holding ourselves to being perfectionists, in fact, I just wrote a newsletter and I did a Facebook Live last week about self-care for moms, because I'm a self-care mentor. And I, in this, I was saying our families don't really want us to be perfect. If we're leaders, if we're running a company or we're in a job and we're a leader, if we're always perfect, we're not relatable. Because we're perfect, things are perfect a very small percentage of the time. The rest of the time, we're making, we're, like you said, we're practicing, we're working towards it. And so perfection, it's like you hit it, but it's maybe once, but then do you hit it again? I mean, I think it's so much more interesting for people. I think we're much more connected with each other when we can talk about our imperfections and laugh about our imperfections. There's so much more space for being real and authentic and interesting and accessible when we see that for others and we see that for ourselves.
Well, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that people had a living room that no one ever went into, and it was always perfectly clean, so that if someone came over, you could go in there and it would be clean, right? But you walk into this perfectly, done room, and you don't even want to sit down. You don't want to spend time in there because you're afraid that you're going to mess it up somehow, right? So I think that's the same with being around people. You feel intimidated or you feel uncomfortable around someone who is trying to put off this I'm perfect. It doesn't what's the right word? It's not authentic. It's it feels fake, I guess, to me, because I know nobody is perfect. So, for someone to, be trying to convince me they are, it just convinces me more that they're not. So then they're not very trustworthy. So I think just being authentic and just letting it all hang out, so to say, being willing to really be seen, willing to, speak out and all of those things makes you much more fun to be around, and people are going to want to be around you more because you're being honest, you're being authentic, you're being genuine, and
you're relatable. Because if we're all attempting to put on this perfect side of ourselves, which again, I think we have perfect moments. And if all we're focused on is recreating that perfect moment, we're so self-absorbed that we're missing everything else going around. And so I think it comes down to when we know ourselves and really fully know ourselves, we know what our strengths are, we celebrate that. We know what is not, our weaknesses, we can celebrate that. And we can, be in a place of wanting to grow and always improve and always moving towards a better version of ourselves. And when we allow ourselves to show up with what our, faults are, and we can tell, again, I use laughter a lot, when we can find the funny of the things that we do and say, and, because, I think life can be really funny. It can be the imperfections is where there's humor, where you screw up. And I think that makes us so much more lovable because we're coming from a place of loving ourselves when we can accept all of ourselves and not only feel like we can present ourselves at the things that are really polished. So that's I think that really is a core way of finding that place of sacredness within ourselves. And when we do that, we have so much more power. We're so much more aligned with our truth, what truly brings us joy. It provides a much richer existence when we can do that.
Absolutely.
And it's really an inside job.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. When we're willing to be open, when we're willing to step out of our comfort zone and take risks and, baby step our way to being the person we want to be, showing up how we want to show up, living the life we want to live, doing the things we want to be doing, being around the people that we want to be around, that is how life is an adventure. When we're willing to see the things that come in front of us and the challenges that we might have and the things and situations that are going on in our life, when we're willing to see those things as an adventure, we're willing to get curious, we're willing to ask questions, we're willing to step into the unknown, that is when life is an adventure. And it comes down to, are you willing? Are you willing to live it? Yeah.
Right.
Terry,
exactly.
are you in a place where you can talk to us yet?
Well, yeah.
Sorry, Shannon.
I am.
Is there something you would like to add to the conversation?
Well, I appreciate the conversation around perfectionism. That's one of the things that I lived with for 60 years. And perfection is definitely a myth. There's no such thing as perfection. And everything that you said about that, what it does to your life, it just makes you miserable. And yet it's an addiction. And so it's something that I will live with my whole life. I fight with it. I overcome it. I let it challenge me. And I step out of that perfectionist mode. And I can tell you personally that I'm much more likable. And I have many more friends and much more influence in my sphere because I have reckoned with that addiction and work at it every day by being curious and looking for opportunities and taking those opportunities and challenges to be an exciting part of my life. So I don't see, as a former teacher, the mindset that I taught my students and that I lived was, the mindset of learning. And that comes probably more powerful when something doesn't turn out the way that you wanted it to turn out, or it ended up being, and I don't like the word failure, so I don't ever use that. It was an opportunity to learn, just like you said. So I lived perfectionism for 60 years, and the last 18 years I have been telling that to get behind me, just like Christ told Satan, get behind me. And I tell that fear of not being good enough, that fear of being rejected, that fear of failure,
which is something I don't talk about anymore because I don't believe in failure. I just tell it to get behind me, and I practice being open and present and just ready to receive. And that's a really difficult thing for a perfectionist to do. And so I now receive as well as give, and I'm able to be, as you said, authentic, real, and the things that I've been able to accomplish the last 20 years of my life have been exponentially satisfying and much more joyful than the previous 60 years of my life. So, yeah, when you talk about perfectionism and willing to work really hard at something that's ingrained in your DNA, and that's very addictive, I'm able to it still pops up its ugly head, and I just say, okay, that's not important to me anymore, and just say, get thee behind me, perfection. It's not something I desire anymore, nor something that I work for. So I can talk to perfectionism from personal experience.
Yeah.
Hear you. And I think that's a testament to learning at any age we can rewrite our stories and rewrite
Absolutely.
the way to live. And it takes courage to
Absolutely
understand and listen to ourselves and pay attention when we're feeling that, when that fear starts to bubble up, that is taking us in a place that feels, it's pulling those old tapes of what we need to do in order to be accepted and to be loved. And I agree. I think the things that we learned at a young age, I think they're kind of always with us. We learn more and more how to pay attention to it. And I think we can much more quickly move through the.
Well, yeah, we like to talk about the frequency, the length, and the intensity of feelings. And as you learn to recognize that that's what's happening to you, that you're back in that old pattern of perfectionism, you can get out of it more quickly. It's less intense, and it happens less often. And I think that's the way you can gauge your growth. It's the length, frequency, and intensity of that feeling. Because I still get that feeling, but it's like, well, it doesn't last very long, it doesn't happen very often, and it's not very intense.
I like that. Yeah. It's all about self-awareness, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is, and self-love. Yeah, it's one of the things that we teach that I love to talk about. Kelly always lets me talk about it because I like to talk about three of the tenets or basic foundations of fearless living is, first of all, compassion for yourself. And when you're a perfectionist, you don't have compassion for yourself at all.
Right.
So having compassion for yourself, and then you can have it for others. And also being honest with yourself. So being honest, being real, telling yourself the truth, and then being personally responsible. And that's where the action comes in. That's where the willingness comes in to do something about it, to take a different step, to see it differently, to practice new things, to get out of your comfort zone. So first of all, it's having compassion for yourself, and then being honest with yourself, and then doing it, to take that personal responsibility. If that's a goal that you desire, then you do what it takes to get that goal. If it's a character trait that you want to build, you do what it takes to build that character trait. That's the personal responsibility. So those are the tenets that I really like to help my clients understand, because once again, I developed those in my life, and it was late in my life, and yet it doesn't matter because now my life is full of joy and peace, and who cares if I'm 78 instead of 28? It doesn't matter.
We have a lot to learn when we're 28, I think. A lot of living, a lot of life experiences. So I like what you're saying about talking about moving past being a victim, because I think that's an old pattern that we learn, that we don't take responsibility for something because we're afraid it's going to, that people won't love us, that we'll show some weakness. And so that is the most courageous thing that I think we can do, is to take full responsibility for everything. And when we do it, this is what's so is such the opposite of what we would think. When we take full responsibility for everything, we get to experience so much more joy with the things that go well, with our triumph.
Mm-hmm.
If so often women they struggle with, when they have success, with feeling like an imposter. Who am I? There must be a mistake. I can't. This is not who I'm supposed to be. And I think the more we embrace the things that are challenges, and I think the more we have those fall down on our face and get back up experiences, the more we do that, the more the sweeter the celebration when we get there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely. I am sorry to cut you ladies off. We are almost out of time, and I want to give you a time to say how our listeners can get a hold of you if that is something that they would like to do. So your contact information or whatever you would like to share with them.
Thank you. I know we could just keep chatting away. It's the time flew. So the best way to reach me is through either my website or my Facebook group. It's Choosing Vibrancy. So choosingvibrancy.com. Choosing Vibrancy is a public Facebook group. I have a Facebook page that's Choosing Vibrancy, but it's the group that I pour into. If you go to my website, you can go to my blog page and sign up for an ebook about creating more vibrancy in your life, and get on my weekly-ish newsletters. I'm delighted to have a conversation with someone that would like to talk about self-care. And on my website, I have a self-care quiz to start that conversation with yourself about how you think about self-care. So that's what I would suggest, is to start there, going to choosingvibrancy.com.
Awesome. Well, please put some of those links in our Facebook group, Get Fearless at Any Age with Fearless Generations, so that our listeners can have quick one-click access.
I'll be happy to.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I've loved having you on, and it's been a great discussion.
I think so, too. Thank you for giving this opportunity, and I think it's so important that we as women keep talking about this so that we can continue breaking through those barriers that, keep us, that we are the ones that can open up the doors, the gates to living a fully vibrant, adventurous life, as much as we can close the gates and only see the limitations. And so what is the light when we get to celebrate those gates being opened?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. I want to remind you all that the 12 Steps to Freedom were created by Rhonda Britton, the CEO and founder of Fearless Living. And you can find out more about Fearless Living at fearlessliving.org. You can find Terry and I at fearlessgenerations.org. And all the links to the podcast for the last 9 years are there, as well as all of our upcoming workshops, our group program, Stepping Towards Freedom. Anything that you would like to know is on the website, as well as all of our social medias, where you can find us under Fearless Generations. This podcast is available on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to your podcast. So go check it out, share it with others, and until next week, everybody, be fearless.
Be fearless. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you. Take care.
Grab life by the chicken fingers and savor the day with hand-battered, cooked-to-order chicken fingers, crispy crinkle-cut fries, buttery Texas toast, and that secret cane sauce that makes everything that much better.
Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, one love.